Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Unfiltered Tea. Uh, let's see. I'm live tonight. So let me know. Uh, don't mind me getting distracted already. Um, Let me know how you ended up here and welcome. And tomorrow's Friday. Yay. Yay, tomorrow is Friday. So, um, buffering. I'm buffering. I was going to say something about Tuesday and then I completely got distracted. So, anyway, it's probably going to be a fairly short show tonight. I don't know. We will find out. We'll see how many times I have to pause, how many times I have to swear, as we do. Um, but I had not seen Biden's farewell address the other night. And so I figured we'd gather all here together and hang out and watch it. And also, that means I have the pause button. We like the pause button, especially because sometimes I have commentary. Sometimes I just get sucked into things. We're going to see. I have heard lots about this address. Um, and but I haven't actually seen it yet. So we'll go through that. And then for most of us, if you're in my camp, and even if you're not, welcome. But yeah, we're bracing for impact here. I'm not really sure. I've been watching some of the confirmation hearings, which yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm a little nervous, but that's a whole different show. So we will chat about that another time. So for now, um, let's see. I have my tea. I have my whiskey because I figured tonight might be this might require some of that. So let me go ahead and roll the intro, and then we will get started. I need to find the intro. Am I organized? Not tonight. Hello and welcome to the Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about news, politics, and entertainment, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go. All right, let's go, everybody. Let us pull up President Biden here. And let's see what he has to say, and we will go from there. Hit the right button. That would be helpful.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. Before I begin, let me speak to important news from earlier today. After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, by my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas, the elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed, because that's how it should be, working together as Americans. This will be my final address to you from the American people from the Oval Office, from this desk as president. And I've been thinking a lot about who we are and maybe more importantly, who we should be. Long ago in New York Harbor, an iron worker installed beam after beam, day after day. He was joined by steel workers, stonemasons, engineers. They built not just a single structure, but a beacon of freedom. The very idea of America was so big, we felt the entire world needed to see. The Statue of Liberty, a gift from France after our Civil War. Like the very idea of America, it was built not by one person, but by many people from every background and from around the world. Like America, the Statue of Liberty is not standing still. Her foot literally steps forward atop a broken chain of human bondage. She's on the march, and she literally moves. She was built to sway back and forth to withstand the fury of stormy weather, to stand the test of time because storms are always coming. She sways a few inches, but she never falls into the current below.
I'm just going to pause here for a second because I do love Biden, and his speechwriters are really good at delivering a bit of a message without it being too over the head, i.e., come together, we got to get through this. And I appreciate that.
An engineering marvel. The Statue of Liberty is also an enduring symbol of the soul of our nation, a soul shaped by forces that bring us together and by forces that pull us apart. And yet, through good times and tough times, we've withstood it all. A nation of pioneers and explorers, of dreamers and doers, of ancestors native to this land, of ancestors who came by force, a nation of immigrants came to build a better life, a nation holding the torch of the most powerful idea ever in the history of the world, that all of us are created equal, that all of us deserve to be treated with dignity, justice, and fairness, that democracy must defend and be defined and be imposed, moved in every way possible. Our rights, our freedoms, our dreams. But we know the idea of America, our institution, our people, our values that uphold it are constantly being tested. Ongoing debates about power and the exercise of power. But whether we lead by the example of our power or the power of our example, whether we show the courage to stand up to the abuse of power or we yield to it. After 50 years at the center of all of this, I know that believing in the idea of America means respecting the institutions that govern a free society, the presidency, the Congress, the courts, a free and independent press, institutions that are rooted, they just might not reflect the timeless words, but they echo.
Okay, I'm just going to pause you here, sir, because you need to take a minute. And yes, all of this, but this is this is more pointed than I was expecting it to be. I will give him that. It is much more pointed than I was expecting it.
The words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Rooted in the timeless words of the Constitution, we the people. Our system of separation of powers, checks and balances. It may not be perfect, but it's maintained our democracy for nearly 250 years, longer than any other nation in history that's ever.
Translation: courts, Supreme Court. Maybe remind yourself of the place. I'm guessing that's my
tried such a bold experiment. In the past 4 years, our democracy is held strong. And every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. I've had a great partner in Vice President Kamala Harris. It's been the honor of my life to see the resilience of essential workers getting us through a once-in-a-century pandemic, the heroism of service members and first responders keeping us safe, the determination of advocates standing up for our rights and our freedoms instead of losing their jobs to an economic crisis that we inherited. Millions of Americans now have the dignity of work. Millions of entrepreneurs and companies creating new businesses and industries, hiring American workers, using American products. And together, we've launched a new era of American possibilities. One of the greatest modernizations of infrastructure in our entire history, from new roads, bridges, clean water, affordable high-speed internet for every American. We invented the semiconductor, smaller than the tip of my little finger, and now is bringing those chip factories and those jobs back to America where they belong, creating thousands of jobs. Finally, giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for millions of seniors. And finally, doing something to protect our children and our families by passing the most significant gun safety law in 30 years and bringing violent crime to a 50-year low, meeting our sacred obligation to over 1 million veterans so far who are exposed to toxic materials, and to their families, providing medical care and education benefits and more for their families. You know, it will take time to feel the full impact of all we've done together. But the seeds are planted, and they'll grow and they'll bloom for decades to come.
I
At home,
appreciate
we've
your
created nearly
optimism, sir.
17 million new jobs, more than any other single administration, a single term. More
It's
people have health care
impressive.
than ever before. And overseas, we've strengthened NATO. Ukraine is still free. And we pulled ahead of our competition with China and so much more. I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished together.
Sir, I know these presidential addresses are supposed to be very serious, but um, you're allowed to have joy in the fact that I didn't think he could pull all this off, and he did, and I'm impressed. And yes, facts.
The American people. And I wish the incoming administration success because I want America to succeed.
True.
That's why
Same.
I've upheld my duty to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition of power, to ensure we lead by the power of our example. I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern.
Oh boy.
This is a dangerous concentration, and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. The dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence. It literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead.
Yeah.
We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before, more than a century ago. But the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to.
Thank
Workers
you.
want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen.
True.
Got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules, pay their fair share of taxes.
Yeah.
So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look
Yeah.
across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world. And the rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working, creating jobs and industries of the future. Now, we've proven we don't have to choose between protecting the environment and growing the economy. We're doing both. The powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interest for power and profit.
And not long-term profit. I'm going to hop in here because it's not long-term profit. There is a finite amount of resources that have built a lot of this wealth, as opposed to a lot of what we classify as sustainable energy, which is called sustainable energy for a reason. It is, as long as we have the sun, which I think we'll have it for, what is it, about 9 billion years? Things you learn from watching Doctor Who. So while we have the sun, we have solar energy, there's things like that we can utilize, things like oil tearing up the planet for the rocks and coal and things like that, that's finite and it does not actually help a lot of things. I realize that there are jobs involved and it's complicated, and to do the transition is complicated. But um, if you can continue doing, say, a factory job long after, or one of those jobs, right? If you're mining, buffering, sorry. If you're mining at a certain point, that mine is going to run out of whatever you're mining. And then jobs dry up and things disappear and stuff like that. Whereas in this particular case, yeah, creating jobs that you can have 3, 4, 5 generations of folks do that job. It's I that would be great.
We must not be bullied into sacrificing the future of our children and our grandchildren. We must keep pushing forward and push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex.
Which we
He
didn't
warned us
listen
then
to.
about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well.
It
Americans
already.
are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact checking.
Yes. Reminder, facts are friends. We like facts. Facts are friends. Um, and I will say that I'm going to quibble a little bit here. The democratization of the media, while it has a lot of legacy types all angry, um, is actually helpful. I get my news from a whole lot of sources, and most of them aren't legacy media, and there's a reason for that. Um, so yeah, yeah. Facts are friends, and in any, I'm gonna sidebar on this particular thing at some point, because the thing is, I'm. Hang on a second, Joe. I will get back to you in just a moment. But I am gonna soapbox for just a second here because we just went through this election where in under 100, in a mere 100 days, one candidate had way more enthusiasm than the candidate who ended up winning the election. Won it by a hair's breadth. Hair's breadth? I don't even know what that is, but yeah, the enthusiasm was there. Had everybody been smarter and just run her to begin with, I think we would be in a very different situation. But maybe not, and here's why. My theory, my own personal opinion theory. The legacy media wanted the clicks, same as we all do here on YouTube and Patreon and social media and all of that. Yeah, the clicks are good. The problem that the legacy media had was they normalized the completely insane things that were coming out of one candidacy and one campaign. And I mean, there was that whole interview with Dana Bash, who knows better, who was going after Vice President Harris in a way that made no sense, and treating the parroting of just made up stories as though they were facts. And now And now we're in a place where the more the legacy media cuts back on fact checking, the more social media cuts back on fact checking, we lose those verifiable facts, and then everything is feeling an opinion, and that's a problem. Soapbox rant over. Let's bring you back.
The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit.
Keep
We must
reading,
hold the
Aurora.
social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work,
Oh,
and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI. You know, in the years ahead, it'll help to be, it's going to be up to the presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share.
that
We
would be
need to get
nice.
dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year term limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics and the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. We need to ban members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress. We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
Yeah, that would,
The
yeah.
president's power is not limited. It's not absolute, and it shouldn't be. And in a democracy, there's another danger to the concentration of power and wealth. It erodes a sense of unity and common purpose. It causes distrust and division. Participating in our democracy becomes exhausting and even disillusioning.
Yes,
People don't feel like they have a fair shot.
correct.
We have to stay engaged in the process. I know it's frustrating. A fair shot is what makes America America. Everyone's entitled to a fair shot, not a guarantee, but just a fair shot, an even playing field, going as far as your hard work and talent can take you. We can never lose that essential truth, remain who we are. I've always believed, and I've told other world leaders, America can be defined by one word: possibilities. Only in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America. It's all around us.
I mean,
Upstairs
it's
in the residence of
the
the White House,
white dude, yes.
I've walked by a painting of the Statue of Liberty, I don't know how many times. In the painting, there's several workers climbing on the outstretched arm of the statue that holds the torch. It reminds me every day I pass it of the story and soul of our nation and the power of the American people. There's a story of a veteran. This is a veteran, a son of an immigrant, whose job was to climb that torch and polish the amber panes so rays of light could reach out as far as possible.
Wow.
He was known as the keeper of the flame. He once said of the Statue of Liberty, quote, speaks a silent universal language, one of hope that anyone who seeks and speaks freedom can understand. Yes, we sway back and forth to withstand the fury of the storm. to stand the test of time. A constant struggle, a short distance between peril and possibility. But what I believe is the America of our dreams is always closer than we think. It's up to us to make our dreams come true. Let me close by stating my gratitude to so many people, to the members of my administration, as well as public service and first responders across the country and around the world. Thank you for stepping up to serve. To our service members and your families, it's been the highest honor of my life to lead you as Commander-in-Chief. And of course, to Kamala and our incredible partner, the historic Vice President. She and Doug have become like family. And to me, family's everything. My deepest appreciation to our amazing First Lady who's with me in the Oval today. For our entire family. You're the love of my life and the lives of my love. My eternal thanks to you, the American people. After 50 years of public service,
too much.
I give you my word. I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands. A nation where the strength of our institutions and the character of our people matter and must endure. Now it's your turn to stand guard. May you all be the keeper of the flame. May you keep the faith. I love America. You love it too. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you for this great honor.
Wow. Also, side note, he's the one of few presidents that when he brings God into it, it doesn't bother me quite as much because at least I know he's Catholic. So I know he means it in his own way, and it's nice. And for those of us who don't subscribe to that, it's a little less off-putting. Okay. So somebody made him mad in a meeting room at some point. That was very inspiring. Farewell. Cheers to you, Mr. President. You surprised me. Biden was a centrist in my mind. I'm a Bernie girl, you know. Although I still think Bernie should have given up and gone home a while back, but I also appreciate that he didn't. Because, you know, he's still doing good things. And I have to say, Biden surprised me. He did things that I wasn't expecting from him as far as jobs and climate change and international relations. The fact that he managed to get prisoners to come home. There was a hostage situation where that had been going on for ages, and he got them to come home. And I am curious. The ceasefire in the Middle East is wonderful news. I am cautiously optimistic on that. The timing is interesting. I do have shade for Blinken for sure. But well done, well played. So that was, I understand why so many people have commented on this speech and having it be a real call to action. The fact that he brought term limits into it is impressive for Supreme Court. I absolutely think that the Supreme Court needs term limits. I really do. For all the reasons. I'm not one of those folks that just likes my side and that's it. I have a lot of shade for Biden. I'm actually surprised. I'm actually not finding the words. Biden is a shady queen in a lot of his speeches, which I love. I am here for it. But I am a little more on edge than I was before because he is a bit of a shady queen and has a wonderful way of being able to say some things that are like that are shady, but not overt. So they tend to go over the heads of some of the ones who get offended if you look at them funny. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Gates, that pack of fun. Um, this was much more serious. So I want to know what was going on behind closed doors that we don't know about because that was a little alarming. So, but it was also filled with hope, and I appreciate that he also did things like point out that there was actually a whole country of people here when Europeans crash landed here by accident because they were the traders who traded, but then there was also the ones who crash landed. Um, and then said mine, thus causing several centuries of varying forms of unrest and problems, which is a very diplomatic way of putting it. We can do a deep dive on those things later. Um, So that was the speech. Now I got to go see what everybody else said about it. I did link in the description of this live. I did link Heather Cox Richardson, who is a historian and an author and does letters to an American every day. She is amazing. And I really appreciate the work that she does and puts out there. And so this morning, reading her morning letter, which you can also find on Facebook, that's what decided me that we were going to do this tonight. Also, because work is a lot, and sometimes you just need to do things that are together. So, um, I did put a link to her Substack in the description of this because I highly recommend her, and she likes facts too. In fact, what are we going to do? What are we going to do the next few years with facts disappearing and legacy media wanting clicks? You know what we do? We find the creators and the news outlets and the folks on social media that cite their sources and do find reliable facts. The ones who say, I went into this courtroom and watched this, and this is what happened. And no, don't add anything to it. And I'm not opposed to bias either. Looking at John Oliver, Jon Stewart, Josh Johnson, some of those guys, yes, they're all comics. Shakespeare had it right. The fool tends to be the one who tells the truth. But find those folks that you know and trust, because when everything is opinion, it becomes a bit of a problem. And I don't care if you have a bias. We know what my bias is coming into here. I will freely tell you. And here's why. Because I can have my thoughts. I can have my disagreements with everybody on both sides of the aisle. And I can also hold space for all of us to come together, because at the end of the day, I'm with the president here. And I think that as a general rule, he didn't say this outright, but as a general rule, I think all of us, no matter who we voted for, want the same things for ourselves, our families, our neighbors. I agree with him that the, 5 people, well, 3 people currently trying to run our entire country, um, they have, we don't have a concept of the amount of wealth that they have. It's not something that I can put into my head. There is no way they could spend the money that they have at all, ever in their lifetime. Um, and it's just, it doesn't need to be that way. We don't get to take that when we go. And yes, there's families and you leave things behind for younger generations. Um, but help everybody out too, you know. And so I think for the most part, with few exceptions, yeah, we all want the same things. We are currently, it's a much bigger conversation. The media conversation is a much bigger conversation. I won't get into it here. It's been wild. We all want to go on and get some sleep, I'm sure, and go through. But I did want to take a look at this because he's done an impressive amount of work in 4 years. He really has. And things happen, the crime rate being as low as it is, which my own personal theory, I have no science to back this up. This is my own personal theory and opinion. When people have security in some capacity, job, home, food, those things, when those things are met, and especially if they have even a little extra financing in some capacity to be able to do things that bring them joy, crime, I suspect, goes down because I think a lot of, again, conjecture and theory, I think a lot of crime comes from desperation. I think I watch a lot of court trials. I think a lot of crime comes from desperation. I think there's very, very few people out there that go, I'm going to commit crimes today. I think for the most part, um, that's that's not a thing. And it is a good reminder from the president here as we brace for impact, to be kind to one another and to hold each other accountable. And by that, I mean, yeah, facts. We need verifiable facts are going to be key. Also, let us remember that in history, when things get dark, there is always a light. Do I think things are going to get dark? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I keep watching the incoming administration make choices, and I couldn't tell you if they are good choices or bad choices. At this point, I am going to hold my breath and I'm going to be here with you guys and we are going to do our thing and we're going to talk about it as it goes. And I am going to hope that we can focus on some light, fun things more often than not. But I'm going to recognize that as we head into the next few weeks, we might be going over things that make me go, what just happened? Um, for example, this is the thing that's stuck in my head. I will leave you with this story. We'll decide. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you want me to do any of the confirmation hearings, because some of the stuff that's come out of these confirmation hearings is just wild. If you want me to cover confirmation hearings, please let me know in the comments and let me know who you want to cover and or what particular things you want me to cover. Because we've got folks like Hegseth who walked in for a job that should know the flag code of the United States, and he was breaking it in his outfit, and it's stuck in my head, and but it, like, I don't personally care. I just think it's kind of ridiculous and hilarious. But also it can be a serious problem. So, we're going to get through this. We've managed to get through 4 years before. Shit's going to get weird. that's just life is weird these days. Um, the planet is having a moment. So if you are in any of the places that is getting either fires, which you're not supposed to have right now, or snowstorms in places that aren't supposed to get snow, or up here in Maine, we're actually very, very lucky and we're just cold. We're just cold. But if you are in those other places, be safe. Listen to your weather folks. Listen to the folks that you know have your best interest at heart. If somebody tells you to evacuate, do that. And with that, I am going to I'm going to run the outro in a minute. I'm going to say goodnight. And we'll be back at it on Sunday. Sunday, if Mandy's able to join me, and even if she's not, Sunday is going to be our law catch-up day because so many things have happened. Let's see. And you know what? Let me know if you want me to cover Blake Lively and Baldoni. I have not been going over that yet because I need a better flow chart, and I don't have one yet. But we can do that. It's raining lawsuits, and I am following so many of the lawsuits. It's just raining lawsuits in Hollywood. Baldwin is suing. Who do we have? We have the Baldwin suit. We have the Jay-Z suit. We've got all the civil things with Diddy. We have things happening in Karen Reed. We have an update with that. So many. So if you've got any of those that you want me to look at, let me know there. What am I missing? I don't know. I am going to say thank you, President Biden, for surprising me in all of the right ways during your 4 years in office. Hopefully, we're going to have some funny things, and hopefully the next administration will surprise me as well. And with that, be well, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time.